space. The final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Adequate. Her ongoing mission: to review every episode and movie of Star Trek in existence. To seek out new guests and make them very uncomfortable. To boldly go where Science Officer Synoiz's laptop clock has never gone before. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers alike. Welcome to a live episode of Trekking Up North. I am, of course, Captain Goodwill of the USS Adequate, and joining us from what appears to be the celestial temple of the prophets above Bajor, is it Science Officer Synoiz, or is it the emissary this week?
It is Emissary Synoiz. I have ascended to the temple of the prophets, high above Bajor, in what you like to call your arsehole wormhole. Linear time means nothing to me. That's why my laptop clock says it's still 1956, which is honestly quite confusing.
Is it still 1956? Do women have rights on your laptop? What's going on?
it's the big problem is because it's 1956 where I am, we have horrendous sort of racism and segregation and horrible gay rights. So I couldn't really tell it apart from the world currently. So
that is true. That is very true. You are lucky. Time has no meaning in the Celestial Temple. Is it 1956 or 2025? Who knows? Everything is still terrible, and trousers are far too short.
The NHS works though. That's all right.
There's an NHS. Oh, right. Back in is it?
I think so.
In 1956, there's not one in 2025.
50s or 60s? Yeah, actually, to be fair, that's the difference. It's like we don't have one now, but we did then.
The National Waiting Service back in 2025. But yes, welcome in, everybody.
Don't worry, it's not privatised. We called it NHS England. That doesn't sound privatised at all. Okay.
Oh, speaking of privatised, hello, you magnificent Canadian shed from the moon of Jagal and the Terran Empire. It is our lovely friend and actor to the stars of Trek, David Jones. Welcome in on the chat, my good sir. Welcome in. Welcome in. I hope that mighty chest of yours. Yes.
So, hold me against that mighty chest of yours, David.
Science Officer Synoiz. How hot is it in the Celestial Temple at the moment?
I am fully moist. It is actually, to be fair, it's quite nice here, but it's just, you know, when you just have a film of sweat upon you that makes you just go, it's not as cold as I think it is. No, seriously, last night, I was just telling before we started, last night I actually had to get out of bed because I just couldn't get to sleep and have to go downstairs and sleep on the sofa. That's how awful and humid it was yesterday.
Which is
I actually almost longed of being in that Vegas hotel room where it just has these industrial generator sort of sound, like where you're just going, it's so loud, the aircon that I had, but it was totally necessary.
So he got out of bed and went downstairs to sleep on the sofa last night, which is a novel trick to do in a bungalow. I was I was the same. I have produced liquid in areas I didn't know was capable of producing liquid.
Wow.
I was wetter than an otter's pocket last night, and what you're probably going to see is this fine brow. I should have put makeup on.
So it would melt off.
So yes, but at least it would have been entertaining for the audience. The 30 hours hot in the 32nd century. I'm not surprised. You're there, and oh, this got strangely horny all of a sudden. But
oh yeah.
What?
Oh yeah.
Oh. What is horny?
Spicy. What is horny?
How do you describe martini?
We are here to review. I don't even know the name of this episode. It's
Sehlat who ate its own tail.
Right, there we go. It's a fascinating one. This, you know what though, because you usually do this, but I'm stealing it from you. Is the whole what we thought of the episode. And this, for me, was the episode where I was a bit like, I don't know how I feel about this one. Like,
Really?
I like all the bits of it, but I don't know. It feels like the last episode where I'm going, is it just me? Is it just me? Or are the plots too big for the episodes? Because in this one, I
Hmm.
was just like, it very much felt like it got fixed in the last 3 minutes. In that kind of like, I don't quite know how they, like, and this thing, and some people were complaining about, oh, it's too focused on the characters and their relationships rather than an actual story going on. But in this one, it was like, it did seem a bit like, oh well, that's it resolved then. And yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. But there were lots of
I
good things in this episode, but this was my mid episode.
I so I last night I came home and immediately went to bed.
Hmm.
Normally, what I do on a Thursday, I come home, I watch Strange New Worlds, set up the stream for the next day, and then immediately go to bed. But I was so exhausted from the lack of sleep because of the heat over the last few days. I just straight into bed, and that was it.
Hmm.
So I got home tonight. It's 20 past 6. Immediately
Hmm.
put Strange New Worlds on, and I'm I'm going to say this was probably the most original series episode we have had this season so
Hmm.
far, in a way of we have this massive reveal of a mystery at the end, and my headphones have died again. Sorry everybody, bear with me one moment. Come on, Janeway. It is connected. Murder, Tuvix. So what was I saying? Yes. So we get this big mystery about who these aliens are. We get a massive reveal at the end, and we get a little bit of exposition, and that's it. And it
Yeah.
left me. It left me wanting more. And I know we're not going to get it. I know we are not
Hmm.
going to get it, but it left me wanting more because, again, they do what Strange New Worlds does brilliantly. They dip into parts of Star Trek history
Hmm.
and then use it to their own advantage, and that's it. Then they move on to the next one, and it just
Yeah.
leaves the audience wanting more. You're like, oh, I want to know more, but I know I'm not going to get it. But
But
I get where you're coming from in terms of the resolution was done fairly quickly. But
hmm.
overall, the episode, I mean, Carol Kane in this episode is amazing. She sounded drunk all the way through this, and more power to her when she's doing that. Hello, it's for you. But it just, I wanted more from this episode more than anything.
Hmm.
I wanted to. It just left me wanting more. Very much like last week's episode, it left me
Yeah.
wanting
Well, that's it.
more.
That's why I was saying that last week's episode should have been a two-parter. I feel with this one, I don't know if it would have been a two-parter. I just kind of, I don't know if you could have stretched this episode out to be a two-parter because I don't think there's a clear, oh, that would be part one and that would be part two. Because you know how Star Trek tends to go, hey, part one is dealing with one aspect of the plot, part two is this. It's very rarely the whole. I think Best of Both Worlds is the only example I can think of off the top of my head that's like going, oh, we're actually just continuing the story. Like, whereas the other ones are kind of going, oh, we're going to shift in this slightly different direction for part two. But um, yeah, it's great. It's great that we got so much Pelia out of it. Like, considering we were complaining in the last couple of episodes that we're just like, why are they just forgetting that she's there? Like, why is she just not? Oh, she's on shore leave, and you're like, that's convenient. But
They've sort of done a 180 with the guest characters when you think about it, because we got Carol Kane in this one, but then we don't have any Patel.
yeah, and it's like we said last week. It's very strange. Like the one thing I would criticize this season of Strange New Worlds with is everything that we praised DS9 for, which is the idea of even if that character is not going to be in this episode, even if they're not important to the story at all, O'Brien will pop up and say something, or the opening, like the what's it called? The cold open will have them at Quark's bar, and Quark will say something cheeky, and then you don't see him for the rest of it.
Yeah.
But then Strange New Worlds literally kind of goes, yeah, we forgot Pellier exists in this episode. Oh, we just forgot Ortegas is around, kind of thing, and it is a bit. It's a bit weird, and but then obviously then they kind of remember and they're like, oh yeah, Pellier exists. Oh, we'll have a really important in this episode, and we'll have to do loads of stuff. And you're like, you need to balance this better.
This
But
was
that is
this
probably the only thing I can criticize Strange New
this
Worlds writing on.
this
But
for me is 100% correct in the way of Umbenga in this episode.
yeah,
Babs's character
Umbenga
is just completely
totally
wasted.
unnecessary, but he's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, he's there to get a paycheck. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He's there to get a paycheck. The brief synopsis for this episode essentially is the USS Farragut with Commander James T. Kirk is monitoring an uninhabited M-class planet when all hell breaks loose. The planet is struck with a gravitic beam. They are badly damaged and the Enterprise comes to save the day, only to find themselves in peril also by a mysterious gargantuan vessel that destroys, absorbs, and harvests.
So let's address the elephant in the room. Okay, this is the thing that actually annoys me with this episode.
Okay, go ahead.
Why is it stepping on the Doomsday Machine's toes?
Now,
Like, this is the whole thing. Like, because this is the problem we have, where we kind of go, Strange New Worlds has been really clever with stuff so far, where it's kind of gone like, oh yeah, I didn't meet Captain Pike until I didn't meet Captain Kirk until he was Fleet Admiral or something, and it's just going like, no, the other way around. And they managed to work that in. With this one, they don't seem the fact that, like, in the Doomsday Machine, it's like, oh my god, why would anyone make it? How can someone make something so big as this and stuff? And then effectively we're going, oh yeah, we've already seen that. Oh yeah, we saw something that was actually bigger. And you just and it does exactly the same thing. It is, I don't know.
as I'm always keen to avoid spoilers, I knew nothing until I watched the episode. And
Yeah.
the cold opening, I was 100% convinced they were going to do some sort of Doomsday Machine. And I was sat there. And at first I was like, come on, you can't do this before the actual Doomsday Machine episode. It will just it will piss everybody off.
It won't make any sense,
So I'm glad they didn't go down that route, but they had
we get a Timu Doomsday Machine.
Yeah, but again, it left me wanting, because essentially, the exposition of this is a machine that prowls the edges of known space. Every alien race has got a myth about this thing. It parodies ancient sailor myths about ghost ships and everything like that. This parodies that, and the fact that Outer Federation colony worlds, non-Federation colony worlds, the Klingon Empire, the Gorn, all hear this and all have a different interpretation of it, but it's still a similar theme that it's an absorber, it's a destroyer of worlds. It just consumes everything in its path. And I like that. I really do like that, but
it's like they went. It's like they went, hey, the Doomsday Machine didn't go far enough. Let's do our own retelling of it. But then we're stuck within the constraints of being like, oh, we're not remaking the original series. We are doing Strange New Worlds. Oh well, we'll just rename it, and
they could have done.
I like what they did with it. In fact, I will say I prefer it to the Doomsday Machine.
I really do.
Incredibly cool. I really like it. I really like the plot around it. I really like everything about it in this episode. But there's no escaping the whole kind of, this has been done before.
Do you think, right, there is a pinch, a smidge reference to the Reavers from Firefly in this?
There is, I think.
There is, isn't there?
Because because the thing is they're kind of an archetype in sci-fi anyway, you
Yeah.
know. But so I don't know if it's specifically Firefly that they're referencing, you know, that they reference, but it
I
definitely
got
does
that
feel
gist.
like
I
that, you know.
really got that gist with the tentacles
I
and everything latching on and everything. I
Yeah.
really got that, like where they are just tearing ships apart and they don't care if there's inhabitants in the ships. They just decompress them into space. They
Mm.
don't care. And I sat down. I was like, this is Reavers. People that have got to the edge of space and gone mad. The
Yeah.
fact that there's nothing there and stuff like that. But I love that we get Paul Wesley back as Commander Kirk or acting Captain Kirk in this, and I think I would have liked to have seen Kirk without the Enterprise there, or maybe some of the Enterprise crew there, but without the Enterprise and without Pike, because it sort of takes away from Kirk's story a little bit, because the Enterprise is put into jeopardy. And I would have liked to have seen like how I don't know. I think he just. Do you see what I mean? No, about this episode, it's good, but then there's a lot of things where I would have liked to have seen this a bit better. This could have been told a little bit better, or this could have been explained a bit better. It left me wanting more all the way through the episode. And Paul Wesley playing, a young Kirk, an inexperienced Kirk, finally in the chair in a crisis situation, he absolutely smashes it out the park. And he shows that Kirk in this era has those vulnerabilities. He has those doubts about himself. He has those, a lack of confidence about command. And the whole point of the name of the episode, as he alludes to with Spock, is he has caught the car. What does he do with it? Or he's the Sehlat that ate its own tail. What do I do with it now? Because all he's ever done is strive for command, and now that he's got it, he has no idea what to do after that.
Now that it's real, and now that there's responsibility behind it, he can't do it. I mean, the thing is, this isn't everything that this episode does with Kirk is wonderful, because I think it's essential, because the fact is we've only got like another season and a bit left until we kind of go, hey, he needs to be here. He needs to be out William Shatner in the original series. And this episode being his first actual command, his first actual captaincy, allows us to go kind of like, okay, how does he deal with it? And obviously the whole plot of the episode is that he fails. Like, he, as soon as he's actually the one making decisions that people's lives are based upon, or that he's totally relied upon, he starts cracking under the pressure. And that it's that, because what we see, and it's fascinating, is that first scene, I think it's like the second scene we see after he's taken command, where he literally kind of breaks, where because obviously Chapel starts going, okay, cool, I think we should start doing this, and Spock says, hey, I think we should start doing this, and they're all giving him ideas, and he's literally like, hey, shut up everyone, I need to think through this. And we see it, and it's that different command style, because all the other good captains have had it where they have to deal with their team, exactly like Picard, where Picard basically sits there and goes, right, options, and then everyone sounds off and they decide. That's exactly what Pike does. It's good leadership of the idea of going, hey, what do we all think about this, and then I'll pick out of it. Whereas Kirk is kind of sitting there being like, I don't need to be told what to do. I should know what to do. It's on me to know the thing to do, without realizing that all of the people that he looks up to haven't done it alone. They're not an island.
Yeah, we see what we see is Kirk's arrogance, and then Kirk's maturity evolve in this episode, because it's no secret that Synoiz is not a fan of Kirk in the original series.
He's dated badly.
But what we see here is the very quick maturity of Kirk's command, where he's very when he tells Scotty to push the Farragut as fast as they can go to maximum warp 7, and he's strutting around the bridge and he's smirking that we're going to catch up to the vessel that's called Enterprise, and they're going to go to Sullivan's planet, who's inhabited, blah 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 blah. And he's like, I will be accepting drinks in the galley after we've saved your ship, of course. And then everything just goes completely wrong. So what we see is Kirk being humbled really quickly, and learning that his decisions and his decisions alone is not always the right path when it comes to solving a crisis like this. And all the way through the episode, we see him confront that, have Spock come in and basically, say to him that your intuition is there, keep following it, but you need to listen to everyone around you and work as a team. And we see that evolution throughout the episode to the point where it's like, well, what do you think? What is your idea? What do we know?
Yeah, well, what we see, the main key thing for me is just what a risk taker Kirk is.
Yeah.
And it's bizarre that this episode happened this week, because I was having a discussion about someone else I know who is a horrendous risk taker. And I think I've actually described them as like a drunk driver who hasn't had a crash yet. In that kind of,
right.
in that kind of, they're like, oh well, I've done this for ages. I always come out on top, and you're sitting there being like, but you won't. You have been lucky. And I think Kirk is very much that in this episode, where he's taking. Oh, I think someone wants to come to him. He's taking crazy risks, and for instance, the first thing he does is he starts banging onto the captain, being like, "Hey, captain, you're being so boring. I think we should teleport down to the planet and explore it there." And he's not doing it because he actually thinks that's what they should do. He doesn't want to do it because that's will give them better data. He wants to do it because he's bored. He wants to do it because it's exciting. It's what he wants out of Starfleet. And then we see he's saying, hey, we should teleport down to that planet, and within a couple of seconds the planet doesn't exist anymore. And and it's good that he deals with it later on in the episode, that he has a moment of going, if she had have done what I was pushing her to do, everyone would be dead. And the same thing with all of his decisions, like him pushing Scotty to do this, that, and the other, and basically go, hey, push it, and Scotty's like, no, hard no, can't do this, it'll be disastrous. And he's like, oh, go on, you can do this. And yes, we see what happens from it. So, but it's an interesting one, because he doesn't end the episode any better, and I kind of like it. I kind of like that it's not just a one episode fix. It's the fact that we still have a series of him learning to go, here's my natural recklessness that everyone loves about original series Kirk.
Yeah.
However, here's how you temper it and actually do what's best for everyone.
Well, the thing is, we like you said, we've only got a season and a half left of Strange New Worlds, and currently, from what I have been told, Skydance, who has now merged with Paramount, are treating Star Trek as a major priority within their portfolio.
But have you seen the announcement, though?
So
it came up with an announcement where it's like, they're going to treat it like a big deal. We've got 2 movies planned, and they've both got J.J. Abrams on the thing. And you're sitting there being like, how? When we say we want more Star Trek, we don't mean we want more Kelvin universe.
However, as well as the movies, there is currently 4 pitches for 4 separate Star Trek shows going up at Skydance. One of them is Star Trek Year One, where it charters the course of Kirk's first year in command of the Enterprise, merging into the original series. So it would be interesting to see that, and it would be interesting to see them to see if they would take the risk with changing Kirk for Year One, because as we see in the original series, he's I mean, like you said, he's very arrogant, he's very cocky, he's shoot first, ask questions later, and that is definitely not the style that Paul Wesley is playing him in this episode. So what makes him go from the start of this episode to how he is at the end of the episode to back to how he was at the start of the episode in the original series? It would be very interesting to see, I think.
I'm interested to see what happens with it. I mean, with these other shows and stuff, it is a weird one to do though, like, because obviously we want series, like we want shows that can be ongoing, so it is a weird one to go, let's do a show that can only be 1 season long. That's a weird thing, unless they're going to redo the original series.
I think, right, look, the original pitch for Star Trek Discovery was it was going to be an anthology, and Discovery was going to be, each series was set in a different time frame with different crews and stuff like that. There was going to be an anthology series.
That could have been good.
I think it's long overdue that we don't have five. I mean, let's be honest, it's always going to be 5 seasons going forward. But have a mini series, where it's like 1 season of Kirk in year 1, and then maybe do something else that's only 2 seasons or 1 season or 3 episodes or something
But
like that.
Isn't there so much money though? Like, doesn't it cost a fortune to do like one series, or like because
They have to justify it. Yeah, they have to justify it. But I mean, if Skydance are serious, do it. Do you know what I mean? There's also murmurings because Scott Bakula was at STLV last weekend, which again, why do all the people turn up when we're not there? Because did you see who else was there?
Who?
The cast and crew of Resident Alien.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
What's his name? Wash from Firefly. Chat, help me out.
Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk, yeah, he was there. He was at STLV.
Yeah.
He was at STLV.
Everyone was there. Nana Visitor was there.
Nana was there.
You know, she's usually there. It was just.
Oh, she heard we were coming last year. I was just like, nope. But so Scott was was giving a talk, and he's expressed interest in a President Archer series.
That would be
of Star Trek, because obviously in canon, Archer became president of the United Federation of Planets. He was the first president, I believe, of the United Federation of Planets. That would be very interesting.
I think if they did that and they basically did it like Picard, like season 3, where they went like, okay, this will fix Enterprise. This will kind of go, hey, here's where we can talk about the stuff that Enterprise was going to go into but never did, where we can basically be like, oh, here's all of the stuff to do with the Romulan War and whatnot. That would be incredible, because it's like how nowadays people with DS9 are just going like, oh, we didn't appreciate you back in the day, but we do now. It's the same with Enterprise, where people are going, hey, we didn't love you then, but we're watching it now and we're kind of, theme tune's crap, but it's good.
Shut your
winding you up,
dirty slutty mouth.
Shut your stinking mouth, bitch.
You have no faith of the heart. But back to the episode. The Enterprise is captured by this mysterious scavenger vessel, and they can see that
which
there's different.
Huge.
It's huge.
It is
huge.
Absolutely huge.
Huge.
And it's another one of these interesting things, because you just go, how does the technology on this work? This technology is so beyond things that we've seen before, you know, like in terms of it's this colossal hollow sort of vessel that inside has all these tentacles and stuff, like metal tentacles that latch onto things and sort of like, you know, drain the energy from it. So the ships, once they get trapped in there, are helpless because they have all of their energy sucked out of them to power this big sort of monstrous thing that they're in. And the plot of the episode, from the Enterprise's point of view, becomes like, how do we actually get power back? How do we get, like, you know, engines back on and stuff? But it's also an interesting one, because it basically separates everyone out. Because what we have is we have 2 ships. We have the Farragut, we have the Enterprise. And then at the beginning of the episode, the Farragut has been severely injured. The Enterprise comes along, and then they teleport all of the wounded, like the things like the captain and things like La'an and stuff. They teleport them over to the Enterprise because they have better medical facilities, and then the Enterprise gets captured by this huge monster. So we kind of end up with Kirk being like, oh, okay, so Pike's not here, my actual Captain Barrell's not here, we don't have any chief medical officer, we've just got like Chapel, we don't have a chief engineer because Pelly is on the Enterprise, but we've got Scotty, and it's him kind of making a ragtag crew out of the people that he does have on board, and them kind of filling their roles. But obviously they're all competent with it. I think the best thing about this is demonstrating how Scotty just goes, I'm chief engineer then, I've got to do all of this stuff, and falls into it. And Nurse Chapel's like, I guess I'm chief medical officer, cool. Whereas Kirk is the only one who just goes, wait, I can't do this, I can't.
Yeah,
you know, it's almost like the Rascals episode of TNG, where they all have to sort of, you know, like, like fill their own boots.
But it shows that this is a crew I mean, we all know this is, apart from. No, they're all there, aren't they? Scotty, Uhura, Chap. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it shows that the TOS
Everyone is
crew.
in this episode.
It shows that they. No, I mean from the actual original series.
Okay.
But it shows that the crew help one another, and when they see Kirk struggling, there is the murmurings from Scotty, like, what do we do if Kirk can't command because it's lacking at the moment? They're like, well, Chapel can relieve him of duty under medical grounds and stuff like that. But then it's a case of, no, we need to essentially get him into a position where he is able to command. We have seen him command before, and Uhura's, it's essentially saved Uhura's life previously before. She knows he's got it in him. He just needs someone to talk that sense back into him and give him that confidence again. And I think it's just wonderful that it's Spock above anyone else, that it's Spock who's the one who talks him into it, as we have seen many times in the original series and in the movies. It was always Spock by Kirk's side, offering that advice, offering that support.
Yeah, it's that thing. It's the fact of, like, Kirk is basically emotion. Kirk is basically sort of like passion and fear and sort of like drive, and he's all these things, and he's like, I've got to do this thing and I don't know how, and I've got to do that. And then Spock is basically logical, sort of like going, hey, cool, calm your tits. Like, let's think about this logically. Let's do this, and sort of doing it. And then obviously we get the extra bit of the trifecta coming in later, which is Bones, who is the humanity, who is the kind of, but let's be grounded about this. Let's sort of like, let's do this the best way possible. And that's not how I describe it, but that factor. And it's great that they put this thing in. You know what? The more we talk about it, I'm trying to work out how I would improve this episode if I'm not happy about it. You know how you can't criticize something unless you can say something better or a better way of doing it. It's really frustrating, but all the stuff that I think is unnecessary in this episode is a lot of the Enterprise stuff. Yeah. I think the whole Pelia subplot, while I love it, I do think it takes up too much of the episode. The whole telephone thing and the whole sort of getting the engines working and stuff like that, all of that seems pointless when the whole plot is basically like get the umbilical cord off the ship and then you get power back. Like, that is the whole episode. But I love all of that because we haven't had enough Pelia. But at the same time, this isn't an episode about her. This should be an episode about Kirk, about learning his stuff and whatnot, and about the Enterprise about the different crews learning to work together. Well, that is what the Pelia plot is.
But Pelia is literally there to go, hey, you are thinking in a 23rd century manner. Yeah. You need to think more analog. And who is more analog when you look at it than Pelia? She is very, she's 5,000 years old.
She's the definition of out the box.
Yeah, she is definition of out the box. And, I absolutely adore the fact that there is that painting in the background of her quarters where it's just a face.
Well, the Warhol.
The Warhol, and it's just Pelia.
There's a Warhol of Pelia.
There's an actual fucking Warhol in Pelia's quarters, and she's got the cat clock. And why does she have, what was it, 3 phones? Why does she have 3?
She pulls 5 out. I think she pulls 5 phones out.
Why does she have 5 telephones?
Why does she have any? I mean, this is the thing, because I will say that a friend of mine isn't that keen on Pelia. They are a bit like, all right, what are they doing with her? Like, in the capacity of, he was excited for Pelia, and then he just goes, oh, she's just like a giz, what's it called? Like just a kind of, oh, well, we need someone to do this, so they're there. They're like a bridge crew officer, not like an actual character. Where they just go, oh, well, we need someone to do this. Oh, well, we'll get Pelia to do it.
They could explore her so much more, I think. Yeah.
They could make her a main character, but she genuinely isn't, opening titles character. And it's, I can't even remember if her name is in the open title.
I saw Paul Wesley's as a guest star.
Yeah, so he's a guest star, but it's like she should be a main character, but at the moment she's basically like Keiko, where it's the idea of just like not in that capacity, not in True Evil, but in the capacity of like, oh yeah, she's here occasionally, but she's not actually part of the main cast, and she's the chief engineer.
She's a chief engineer. Yeah, exactly. Why are we seeing more of Scotty than we are of the chief engineer? If you're going to like diminish Pellier's role and Carol Kane's character, surely do it in a way where it's like she is essentially mentoring Scotty to replace her on the Enterprise or something like that, because to be only present in what, 3 episodes so far out of 6?
Episode 5 now.
So 50% of season 3 of Strange New Worlds she's been in, and she's the chief engineer.
And she's great. You know, she's
genuinely,
I genuinely adore her. And the annoying thing is, after my little thing about it there, saying maybe we should take the Pellier bits out, the more that I'm talking about them, the more I'm like, no, they are instrumental to the episode of how the crews, you know, have to learn to work in different ways, and they have to, like, you know, sort of get out their comfort zone. The same way that Kirk has to get out of his comfort zone to become a captain, the rest of them have to be like, I can't just press the button, I have to do this. And obviously Pellier is like, because Pellier is me at work. Pellier is me at my job, where I'm just kind of going, we had this old thing called FTP that we used to upload files, and everyone's just like, what? You don't do it really convoluted through the command line. I'm like, no, you dragged the files into a folder and they appeared on the internet. You know, and then they're just like, how does that work? Like, do you have to do that through Git repositories? And you're like, no. You know, and it's really baffling, and it does. I feel like Pellier with the phones, because we had a problem at work a couple of weeks ago that was basically that everything broke and they couldn't actually apply a fix to the server. And I was like, then we use FTP, and they were like, what's that? And you're like, how do you not know this? You know, it's like meeting someone who doesn't know what a Game Boy is and being like, oh god, I'm old. You know,
I see. This is going to be our technical tangent for the night.
Sorry, everyone.
We use Salesforce. Now, Salesforce is widely known, widely used by many businesses across the world. It is very, very, very stable, and it works rather well. However, there is currently an issue with the drag and drop facility within Salesforce, specifically within our company. And we don't know if it's because it's our build or there is a general issue overall with the Salesforce platform when it comes to drag and drop. Because normally, if you're a chap with 2 or 3 screens and say you need to add an email to something in Salesforce, you literally click the email in Outlook and drag it into Salesforce, and then it saves in there, because the beauty of Salesforce is unlimited storage. So if you've got a data cap on your company's email storage space, which in my department is 50 gigabytes, which is laughably small for modern day photos. So we drag and drop everything into Salesforce and then get rid of it out of the inbox because it frees up the space. Brilliant. Stopped working last week. Right? Okay. I will phone IT. I will say the drag and drop feature has worked. We've cleared the cache, restarted laptops, blah, 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 blah. They phoned Salesforce and went, we don't have this feature. And then Salesforce, to my absolute surprise, went, we don't have a drag and drop feature.
Okay.
And I sat down and I was like, what?
But we use it.
but we use it, and every company I've worked for uses it. It is within the build of the platform to use drag and drop. There is a UI that comes up. There is the interactivity, when you see on websites and stuff where you go like it phases out the screen and then you've got the box where you can drop it into and stuff like that. And they're going, nope, we don't have that. We've never had drag and drop. We don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like,
are you sure you were talking about drag and drop and you weren't just talking about the Epstein files?
No, because we know where those are. But hang on. Work visa declined. They've just drag and dropped my visa into the bin.
It's just drag and drop, but it's got all these redacted bits in it, and we're like, oh, that looks like it says true.
Breaking news: we've received a dislike, a D Trump. But we and I was like, but it's there, and they're like, nope. And I'm like, so hang on. So the 3 companies I've worked with that use Salesforce that all have a drag and drop feature, that have been using them for years. You're telling me that this feature doesn't exist, and they're like, What?
It's really weird. Do you reckon that they just sort of got rid of it and then just decided to deny that it ever existed? Just to go.
No, that's the Epstein files. Moving on.
Oh, hey Crimson, hey Beth, welcome to the chat.
Hey Crimson, do you know where the files are?
Were they the files you were trying to drag and drop? Because I can understand why they would remove the feature if that's what you were trying to put onto the network. Sneaking the bloody Epstein files onto Salesforce.
Ironically, it was CCTV footage.
Oh God. That's how it happens.
That's hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious.
They're just like, okay, no, we've never had
I can feel my H1B dissolving as we speak, Synoiz. Can we move on, please? Right.
Okay. But no, I think it's fascinating. It's basically the main plot of the crew is the episode is the crew's learning to work in different ways and getting out their comfort zones to deal with a greater threat. But it feels really odd that the plot of if that's the plot, if it's the crews working together in different ways, I think this actual scenario is wasted on it.
Yes.
Because the scenario is so wonderful of having this massive beast that sort of swallows ships and, salvages them and stuff, and yet not enough time is really spent on it. We have like a couple of scenes, like we get these wonderful scenes between Pike and Laan where they're getting rid of the umbilical. Well, they're not. They're poisoning the umbilicals. They poison the energy that it is being drawn from it so that the umbilical lets go, and then they get power back and they can actually escape on the ship. And then they've got the salvagers that are going around the ship and they kind of finding stuff to do and cut things up and stuff and steal things. All of that is fascinating, but it's like 5% of the episode.
It's 5%, and yes, it was a raspberry martini, and I totally didn't mean to down it because my God, it's been a week. Yeah, and they could have. There's so many things they could have done differently. Like this could have been an allegory for Moby Dick. This could have been, Kirk could have been Ahab, chasing his white whale and doing all the risky things he could to get vengeance, essentially, for the Enterprise being captured and his captain being injured and everything like that. And they didn't do it. But we'll get into the spoiler now because I can't really hold it back anymore. So if you are watching this and you have not seen the Sehlat who's ate its own tail, stop now, come back later on. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's a reference. If you get that reference, you've got a cookie. 3, 2, 1. The scavengers are humans, descendants from a space program from 200 years ago, after the literally straight after World War III, just before First Contact. But these humans are descendants of those original astronauts. There's now 7,000 of them, and they've been roaming the galaxy, scavenging and stuff like that. Why? Why is this not explored a little bit better? And why don't they use it more?
They got this big twist, and it feels like, you know what? I'm going to be horrible. I'm going to compare it to the Kelvin films and basically be like, it's like they went, hey, here's this cool set piece. Here's a cool thing that we want to happen in the episode. And we'll just kind of do it and kind of lead into it and then just hope that no one questions it. Like, just hope that no one goes, but what? And that was my big problem with the Kelvin universe stuff, was the idea of going, that doesn't seem to fit. Like, that seems a bit like of a reach. Whereas that's what this feels like. This very much feels like they go, but why, because they even have a line in. So obviously the writers have considered it, where they've gone, when they saw that we were human, why didn't they say anything? Like, what the hell, But
they could have played it as this this was a group of humans that disappeared, all right, and in order to survive and to repair their damaged ship or whatever, they had to scavenge anything and everything, right? And they came across an alien vessel. Who cares what aliens or anything like that? This is the first time with the Farragut that they have encountered a human vessel. I know there's many alien races on staff, but they encountered a human vessel. Okay?
Yeah.
Or the Enterprise. Like, they capture the Enterprise, but then, I mean, it's literally, it's got English words on it. Do you know what I mean? And then the fact that the scavengers board the vessel and there's very clearly humans there, and yet it gets up to it's literally when one is facing off on Pike that he doesn't shoot and refuse. Yeah. But he doesn't refuse to shoot. This is what gets me. He doesn't refuse to shoot. The gun is still pointed. He's hesitant, but he doesn't put his gun down. And I think it would have been, even that scene would have been better if he had the gun, saw Pike's face, and then tilted the gun down to look in, and then La'an shot him. And then there would have been, why did he not kill him? Why did he put the gun down?
Which leads us to what maybe the whole overarching plot of the episode is, which is communication.
Yes.
The fact of Kirk doesn't know how to communicate. The rest of the crew need to learn how to communicate using telephones, however methods and whatnot. And then in this, if only all of these people, these 7,000 humans that die because of because of a misunderstanding, because basically, they didn't realize they were also humans, and they could have stopped. They could have taken their helmets off. They could have they could have tried speaking or anything, and they didn't. And therefore, and that's pretty much how all conflicts keep going, I think, in the world, is the idea of not sitting down and going, hey, actually, is there a better way to do this? And I think that's the plot of this. And I think more time could have been spent on it.
It was a short episode as well. It was only 49.5 minutes long.
Yeah.
Which is weird. This deserves a lot more.
Would an extra 10 minutes have saved it, do you reckon?
I would say an extra 10.
When I say save, I don't say sort of that it was terrible or bad. I just say it's like, could it have been improved by another 10 minutes?
I would say an extra 10, and I know exactly where I would have done it. So La'an injures one of these scavengers, and when Pike takes off the helmet, the last 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes, to be honest with you, but a couple of minutes could have just been spent between Pike and this scavenger in his last dying breaths. And he could have just said something. He could have said, "You are one of us," or "You are human," or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it could have been, but it could have been like, what I'm trying to say is like,
wait, there's so much more to discuss though about it. Like the discussion would be how shocked this scavenger is that there are humans. Because the whole point that what Pelia talks about at the end of the episode, where she basically goes, I was there, I remember their sort of mission setting off, and they were leaving because they thought that humans were destined to die. They thought that humans would never get off the planet, pollution would destroy us all, and they've gone, and all these descendants of this sort of initial mission all think that they are the last surviving humans because they were so certain that humanity was doomed. And the idea of this person who's been brought up almost like a religion, I'd assume, of going, hey, we are the last of our species, going, wait, there's more of us? Like, that is a fascinating discussion that just doesn't happen. Like,
it could have been because for those
that it's just played as a twist.
Yes. It just, so two things. So these the descendants of these humans left after the midst of WW3, so the Earth was irradiated, it was heavily polluted, and basically this is why Starbase One looks like it is, because those domes that are around it were environments that were sent off into space created and simulated and then sent off into space because the people of Earth thoroughly believed that the environment was so done, was so gone, that humanity would essentially be extinct by the end of the 21st century. So they essentially seeded the solar system and the galaxy with the last remnants of the best of Earth and humanity, which is who these astronauts are. What I would have loved to have seen is, because the way it's paced is that the Enterprise escapes using telephones and thrusters and everything like that. The Farragut essentially mimics the Sehlat, who ate its own tail, so it uses the mechanical tentacles against the ship to neutralize itself.
I didn't understand this.
So basically, the scavenger ship runs off a specific chemical, a specific fuel. So what Kirk said to Scotty was, we need to essentially bait the scavengers to divert from Sullivan's planet long enough so we can rescue the Enterprise and try and destroy it, so a pre-warp civilization that's got a rich abundance of this chemical is not destroyed. So what they do, they flood the nacelles with this chemical. The ship warps in.
Well, no, they don't flood it with that chemical because they don't have any of that chemical.
No, they mimic the
nacelles
antiprotons.
With antiprotons.
Antiprotons.
Make any sensors go, that suggests you have a large amount of that chemical. Yeah.
So,
but I got all of that, and then they do that, and then basically they draw the scavenger ship along to make the sort of Enterprise, the Farragut, seem like a juicy prize.
Yeah.
But then the Enterprise, then they fly around. The tentacles are chasing them. Then they let go of the nacelles. The tentacles chase the nacelles.
So the nacelles.
And then something happens with the tentacles in the ship, and then they're like, "Oh, we've neutralized."
So essentially,
like, what did they do? Like,
the tentacles, those are neutralizing grapplers. So when they grab hold of a ship, they neutralize it, making the ship unable to warp away, unable to move, or anything like that. So when the Enterprise is captured, the Enterprise is neutralized. The whole point of the nacelles,
captured onto the scavenger ship, then they neutralize itself.
Yeah.
Wouldn't
so
you
they
think
use
it didn't do that.
They use the nacelles as homing missiles to essentially lure them for the tentacles to hit its own ship, neutralizing the ship long enough so that the Enterprise could get power, so that they could escape. But getting back to my point, what I would have loved to have seen is the enemy ship is disabled. So this is how I would have played this scene out for a little bit more dramatic effect. The scavenger ship is disabled. The Enterprise breaks free. We know that one of these boarders is already injured and stuff like that, right? So the Enterprise is in the process of escaping. Pike finds the downed scavenger, right, with the helmet still on. The Enterprise escapes. Pike takes off the helmet, reveals that it's a human, right? As that realization comes into place, Kirk fires the torpedoes at the scavenger.
Yeah.
Pike hails the Farragut. Abort, abort, abort. Don't fire, don't destroy. It's already too late. Kirk thoroughly believes what he's doing is right, destroys the scavenger ship. Spock then detects the life signs as humans, then they're unable to transport them due to the amount of debris.
Yeah.
Amount of debris.
I think it would have been more dramatic that way. I don't know if better, but it definitely would, like, as in
it would have added weight to the decision that he made.
I think if they'd done it where the Enterprise gets out of the thing, so it's all like clean sailing, and then as that's happening, then then basically they have to get the whole thing of shooting the thing. I think that would have worked better. And then the human scavenger dies, like, after everything. So it's basically like the rest of them all die, and he is the last one. And he kind of has that sort of dialogue with Pike of just going, "Are there any survivors?" And Pike's like, "No," like, as in, that would have been tragic. The idea of this guy just being like, "Because I didn't communicate properly, my whole civilization is gone now. Like,
Yeah.
that I think that would have been an iconic moment. And
Oh God,
instead
it
we
would have
just
been.
kind of get a thing.
It would have been.
Like,
It would have been heart wrenching to see. I mean, the last scene between Pike and Kirk, where Pike essentially says, "This is a decision you have to live with the rest of your life." It would have added so much, so much. Is it gravitas?
yeah.
Yeah, it would have added so much gravitas to that scene where Kirk. This is Kirk's first legitimate command in a crisis, and he's killed 7,000 humans.
But this is the crazy thing, because obviously, like, Pike's like, "Hey, you managed to save like 300 people and stuff," and and then Kirk's like, "Yes, but at the sake of 7,000, there is no way to cut it." I mean, but this is the thing, though. You know how at the beginning you said this is just a standalone episode, like we're probably never going to revisit this. What we've seen with Strange New Worlds is that it keeps the door open, like we had with Umbenga, where we were like, "Hey, we're totally done with his assassin plot line," and then it just goes,
"Oh
no,
yeah,
actually,
yeah.
we've got that." Like, and I like that it kind of does this, where we could happily go to Kirk in later episodes and have him being like, thinking about like the fact that he's killed 7,000 people. Wait, actually, the frustrating thing is, I think the biggest thing about this is, if it was that Kirk had said, "Hey, kill everyone," and that had been the plot, it would have been one thing. But he doesn't. Like, this is really annoying, because I got really annoyed because I couldn't understand what the hell Paul Wesley was saying. I had to actually rewind the episode like 3 times and then put subtitles on to actually hear what he was saying. Well, basically, when Spock's basically just going, "Hey, our weapons are ineffective against the tentacles and stuff," and then Kirk turns to him and says, "What does he says?" Yeah, I thought he said, "Okay, Spock, wake up." And I was like, "What does that mean?" And then basically the subtitles are, "Okay, Spock, what do you got?" And
what do you got?
He says, like, "What do you got?" And I'm like, I didn't know that's what he was saying. So I was just like, and then the next thing that happens, I'm just like, what? But effectively, he doesn't tell Spock to shoot the actual sort of the power cells and stuff inside the ship. He doesn't tell Spock to even fire torpedoes. He tells Spock to fire phasers. And Spock, being the crazy murderous bastard he is, considering he has killed God in a movie, because obviously we have our review of that movie where we're like, they don't actually ever say that wasn't God at any point in the film.
No.
And I'm a bit concerned at this, that Spock kills God. But the fact that they have that, it's like he's going, if I'd communicated better to Spock of maybe don't kill everything, like just try and disable them, but instead Spock, with his murderous urges, goes. I mean, it is amazing, but at the same time, it's not what Spock was asked to do,
No.
And Kirk has to live with the whole like, "Hey, I told him to do whatever, and he did whatever, and now 7,000 people are dead."
But they could have used that. So again, going back to Kirk's command style and how
we might even get an argument. We might even get a later episode where Kirk has a huge argument with Spock about, "I did not tell you to blow them all up," kind of thing, because he's suffering from the guilt.
What I'm trying to allude to is that, like we've discussed earlier, we see Kirk's arrogance, humbling, and then maturity in command.
And consequences.
Exactly. So we can see that within his maturity of command, listening to other people, a recommendation is made at the cost of 7,000 lives. They could have, maybe later down the line where they have an argument with Spock where, this is why Kirk is Kirk in the original series, because when he did listen to his crew, the results was essentially the massacre of a civilization.
Yeah.
They could have the persona of Kirk revert back to how we know him in the original series because of this exact decision going forward.
Yeah.
They could do so much with it. I would love to. Do you know what? We solve everything on Trekking Up North. We solve these episodes perfectly. We did it with Starfleet Academy with the Jem'Hadar Klingon. You nailed it on the head within 30 seconds, and we have just fixed the Sehlat who ate its own tail.
Well, it's the fact of there's so much this material that this episode brings up, and I think
Yeah,
it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful that it kind of we can talk about this, and we can dissect it, and we can do all of this. However, there is still,
there's
you
room
know,
for improvement.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's this kind of thing. Like whether they go down that route or not is a totally different thing. Um, it, yeah, because they totally could with like have it as Kirk's arc,
Yeah.
because they need to get into the whole thing. Although this is the interesting thing though, because obviously I've been too busy. I haven't really been checking the internet. Like I haven't really had much feedback aside from people who like deliberately WhatsApped me about it. But like in terms of online comments and stuff, have you seen anything about this episode? Or because
I
I'm interested to see how the rest of the fandom feels about the whole we've just added this to Kirk's legacy.
so
Like the idea
so
of their Kirk fans from the original series going, so that's an aspect of this character that is now in canon. Like, how do we feel about this? Because that
I
puts him nearly above Janeway
I
on a good
as
day.
as you all know, I actively avoid any spoilers each week for the new
Mm.
Star Trek episode. It is working tremendously thus far. However, what I would normally do, I would watch it on a Thursday and then I would read a couple of reviews, check the comments, blah, 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 blah.
Mm.
As I said at the top of the episode, I got home last night and I went straight to bed. I got home at, what did I say, 20 past 6 tonight.
What
It is
line did I say?
it is 9:02. Okay, so I got home, I put on Strange New Worlds, I watched Strange New Worlds, I immediately came upstairs to the adequate, I mean my bedroom, I mean the adequate, and curated the episode for tonight's live stream. Okay, so I have seen absolutely nothing. So my opinion of the episode, my overall thoughts on the episode have not been influenced by anyone but myself. So it would be really interesting to I mean, you guys in the chat, if you have seen the episode, what do you think? If you are watching this episode recorded, leave us a comment below. And then why are you doing that? Give us a like, but leave a comment below as to what your thoughts are about this episode. It'd be really interesting to get people's takes on this, whether they liked it or not, and whether this huge monumental part of Kirk's life being added to canon is adding to it or it's taking away. But I agree with Synoiz. I think this is something that they could come back to later on, where he has it out with Spock, like the guilt of trusting other people's ideas resulted in the death of 7,000 people, and that is why he becomes who he becomes in the original series.
I mean, that's the thing, because we have the episode ends with a heart-to-heart between Pike and Kirk about Pike basically going, this is the job, like this is what you need to do. You need to be able to make those decisions and stuff, and you made the right decision even if it doesn't feel like that now. And it's this, him doing that, but then it's like it doesn't resolve it. Like I don't think I don't think Kirk would walk away from that conversation by being like, oh, I feel so much better now. So I definitely think that could be explored more.
I think this is something that's got to be explored.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, let's try and have a quick episode today, obviously, because I don't think there's too much more to discuss on this episode.
I really don't think there is. I liked it. Like I said, I thoroughly enjoyed the episode. I think it was tremendous. It just A, could have been a little bit longer, and B, certain scenes could have been timed a little bit better to add more gravitas, like we've already discussed. I really don't have any further notes. What I will say is what Strange New Worlds does extremely well, and ironically this started with season 2 of Discovery, is they are not afraid to delve into a certain part of human history before Enterprise, before First Contact. They are not afraid to go, hey, this devastatingly awful thing happened to our planet, and we want, we have learned from this, and we want others to learn from this and to explore this and to continue exploring this into season 3 is absolutely fantastic. You know, the very first episode of Strange New Worlds, they mention that thing that happened. I don't want to say it too much because YouTube's just like, but they explore that. And then in season 2, we get it with those old scientists where they're going on about the NX-01 and everything, but then in season 3, they're still going on about that. And they are, what I love is, they're not afraid.
Tying it into the timeline.
Yeah, they're tying it into the timeline.
Going, hey, let's just jump to the next thing.
But they're filling those tiny little gaps in Star Trek history where, do you know what? I would like to know more about that. I would love to know more about this part or this part or this part. Yeah. And I think this is why with the increased popularity of Enterprise over the last few years because of streaming and, you know, obviously Scott Bakula's interest in playing Archer again, it's piquing that interest. And I think Strange New Worlds has been subconsciously doing that for the last 2 years, where it's like, here's the NX-01 and here's a picture of the NX-01 and here's, you know, reference to Archer and Travis Mayweather and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. So, you know, they are doing their absolute best to sort of pique that interest into that specific era of Star Trek, which will allow people to go, oh, right, so there was this big, you know, event that happened before. What's First Contact? What did First Contact? And then they can find Star Trek First Contact, and they can,
You know what annoys me? I like that they're doing this, where they're basically sort of linking things into stuff that exists in the universe, in the canon, but that hasn't been fleshed out, like the Third World War, where that is a big thing in Star Trek, and obviously, aside from a couple of references in TNG and stuff, we haven't really dealt with it that much. But that's what annoys me so much when you get the other bits of like Star Trek where it just goes, we have to make up all of our own things. Like I had a big rant the other day about like the Star Wars, where Star Wars did the show called The Acolyte, where they had all these opportunities to tie it into existing canon and lore, and then just went, no, we'll make our own version of that. And you're like, why? Why have you know, all you need to do is just, you know, like, it's really odd. Like,
there's already a rich tapestry there, and Strange New Worlds is just ever so slightly just picking away at it at very select times. And it's satisfying as anything.
Yeah. But that's the thing, it's that frustration, though, of you need writers who are good enough and respectful enough of the lore and the world that they're buying into, that they go, I know what to do with these building blocks, rather than, oh, I need my own blocks. I need my own Legos before I can play with this. And it's like going, well, why are you here then? Like, why aren't you making a new show?
Use the resources that are abundantly available right in front of you. And this is what Strange New Worlds does. But I really don't have any more notes about this episode. Do you?
I have a lot of notes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to blaze through them. But I think the interesting about this is, as we know, I'm not a fan of original series Kirk. I think William Shatner's Kirk, like, I like the character. I like what the character does, and I like what the character represents, but I really dislike him. It's like Goldakat. We don't agree with Goldakat, but we like him being there. You know, we like him being in the episode, but it's the idea of me just being like, I would kick this man out of an airlock. You know, like, that's how I feel about original series Kirk, and Kirk in general. I think when he matures over the movies, I like him more.
Yeah.
But in the original series, I disagree with so much of everything that he does. Whereas in this one, we kind of see that, where the episode opens with him being an absolute dick, him being like, "Oh my god, my captain's so boring. Why can't we do away missions? Oh my god, I just want to explore space," you know. And you're sitting there being like, what, you sound like a child, like, you know. And I like that they're kind of going, he's immature, but even when we get to the original series, he's not perfect. He's never perfect. That is.
Just need to check something. I just need to check something because Kirk is very young when he takes command of the Enterprise. Oh wow! Paul Wesley is 43 years old. Wow! It's a handsome 43-year-old. Anyway, anyway, but I mean, it's. I would like to see them take the route that we have discussed with Kirk. I would like to see them, you know, listening to others or making, you know, allowing others to make suggestions like that. Got 7,000 people killed, and he's a lot more reserved when it's when it comes to taking advice from his crew, and he's a lot more. I will make the final
Yeah.
decision.
He's the factor. He's like, well, I'm captain, I guess, even though I don't want to be, but I still have to make all the decisions. It's like, that's not what being a captain's about.
Yeah,
And obviously the
yeah.
episode is him learning that and going, and it's also points out the idea of like it's quite good that it shows that every a bad writer could take this and go, the whole episode is focused on Kirk. It doesn't matter about the other characters. They're just there to prod Kirk effectively. But they don't. All the characters build themselves in their own way. Where it's like, Una doesn't really get much development at all, but we see Uhura being like what she is, being incredibly supportive and being like, hey, look, we just need to understand him a bit better. We need to give him time. And then we see Scotty, who basically his plot arc for this season is basically like, I was let down by people who shouldn't have been in the positions of power that they were in. And then he's forced in this situation of going, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. We need to actually shut him down and get someone who does calling the shots. So it's quite good that they managed to develop Scotty as well on top of that.
Yeah.
By going, hey, he still hasn't got over his trust issues with the fact of what happened to his crew. But the other thing I think interestingly, when we talked about like Mbenga has nothing to do in this episode, he does probably have one of the best lines in the whole thing. I mean, obviously Pelia has the line, "You're actually making me glad I lived through the 80s."
Oh yeah. This is the first time I've been glad that I lived through the 1980s.
Yeah, and you're sitting there just being like, sort of like, the 80s were amazing. Shut up. But I do love the she says the line, what is it, later when they connect the phone and she's just like, I haven't done this since I was a roadie for the dead.
Oh.
And Ortega says like, your species can communicate with the dead. And obviously she's talking about the Grateful Dead, the band, but it's just and this is what I like. This is what they never really did with Guinan, where they kind of go, she's been around for 5,000 years. There's little nods of, oh yes, I was there when that happened, and you get it so many times. It's a trope in sci-fi.
Do you notice
a character who was, oh yeah, I was there when Jesus was crucified, and you're like, okay.
Do you notice something though with Pelia in this episode? We, not humanity.
Yeah.
We. She's been around humanity for so long. So they're going on about the exposition dump towards the end, where they find the records of the XCV-100, which is this ship, and she goes, I remember this. We were barely putting out the flames of the Third World War. They were the best of us. They were the best of the nation. And you're just like, she is so like, she's not a Lanthanite. She may be a Lanthanite, but she identifies herself as a human at this point.
She very much, it seems like Pelia very much threw her bag in with humans and just went, hey, this is my favorite race, I'm gonna do that. Like, maybe that's a thing with Lanthanites. Maybe Lanthanites are like basically like Odo, like the founder species, where they basically go and find a civilization and then they grow into it, they become attached to it, and then they sort of grow up alongside it. Like, maybe that is what they do. Like, we don't know. We could flesh out this character, but that is probably where I would see the lore for Lanthanites going from here, where they kind of go out, they get sent out into the galaxy, or they get to travel, or when they come of age, they get to sort of fly off wherever they want, and then they find a planet that they sort of quite like the look of, and then they just become part of that species, and they just follow that species and guide behind the scenes and stuff. It could even be that Pelia is a shit example, like, as in they're meant, like as in they're meant to sort of get to that race and then become these crazy sort of like oracle figures, or these crazy sort of like sort of guiding that race through difficult times, almost like the anti what's it called, I feel like Janeway. I've forgotten what the main rule of Starfleet is. No, not the Prophets, not the the Prime. It's like the anti-Prime Directive, where they find lesser species and then go, hey, actually, we're going to guide you. So we'll send someone around, they'll become part of your culture, and then they'll do that. Like, there's so much you can do with this Lanthanite lore now, and I quite like it. But I think my favourite line, though, is the Mbenga one, where they get into Pelia's quarter, and everyone I've chatted to about this episode is universally loving that Pelia's quarters look how they do. That they are the amount of prop departments that got ransacked purely to make.
There is an
this
empty
set.
warehouse on Melrose.
They've
Well,
gone
not
through
Melrose,
the BBC
Toronto.
props cupboard,
Yeah.
and got everything.
They've gone
and put it
into
there,
like
'cause it's
every
amazing.
thrift store in Toronto and just went, "Oh, we'll take it. Take what? All of it." Because she has a
That
car
stuff
battery.
there, that thing, yeah.
There's a car battery in her quarters, and you're just like,
Well, we have the joke in season 2, like after she gets introduced,
with the
where they
junk,
basically
yeah.
realize she's just got a real, like, is it a, what is it? Is it a Picasso?
Yeah.
Is it actually? She genuinely just has like a real one, and she's just like, they didn't know it was missing, and it's just
yeah,
like,
because
no,
someone said, "Oh, didn't they?
the thing?
What was it? So wasn't something like this reported stolen or something?" He was like, "It was a gift."
Yeah. But, you know, and it's just, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful after all of us complaining about sort of Pelia not being in it. It's
Yeah.
enough to, it's great to get it, but I'm just worried that next episode isn't going to have her in at all. Whereas we want her to be in all the time.
I don't know what the next episode's going to be.
She's what Neelix should have been in Voyager, you know,
with less cheese. I have no
but
idea what.
I love it though that Umbenga has the line of Pelia's quarters are exactly as I expected, you know, which is like he is genuinely surprised but also not surprised, and I love that. I think that is the most succinct line of everyone thought that they were going to be like this, and then they just are.
And only Babs would be able to pull something like that off as well, because of just how dry he can be. He's just like, "This is exactly how I expected," and it's just like, "Yep."
I genuinely love it. Like, it's a what else have I got? How do the lanterns work? How do the weird phaser lanterns that the scavengers have? Basically, if you haven't watched the episode, well done for staying this long. But the fact is, the scavengers, when they shoot phaser fire at them, the phasers veer off and go into these purple lanterns that they're carrying. That just seems a bit. You know what? Actually, I'm going to say it. The whole scavenger thing, the whole scavenger aesthetic, the whole way they're dealt with in the episode, and them having things like the lantern, it feels like Doctor Who Monster of the Week. Like the costume feels like that. It doesn't feel good budget wise, and then the whole like, that's not how phasers don't work that way.
So
like,
it is an energy absorption device. So it generates a field around a person. And when a directed energy weapon is fired upon them, that energy is absorbed by the device, which then in turn
powers up the suit.
That powers up the suit and the shields and stuff. Because what we also find is they don't have phasers, they don't have lasers, they have essentially guns.
Guns, yeah.
For want of a better term, they are still propellant weapons, but they don't have phasers. So these act as like a personal shield and a power device.
Is that how it works? Because that's the problem, okay? Because I remember, because I've got a note here of something that annoyed me of why is there a blood trail when they were shot with a phaser? But then I've realised that they weren't shot with a phaser. They were shot with their own weapon. Weren't they shot with their own weapon though?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Yeah.
No, the one. It was a phaser. They were shot with a phaser. What they did was when Pike and La'an ambushed them, they smashed the devices, and they smashed the devices of one, and she shot him with the thing, and he was injured. And he was injured by the weapon.
Well, that's it. No, because you had it where basically they destroyed the lantern thing, and then La'an shoots him on kill, and he evaporates. He full on dies. And then the other one, after the fight, after he doesn't attack Pike, she shoots him, and then it seems to fizzle off him a little bit. Like he doesn't seem.
It could have been that the lantern was not hit as much or malfunctioning.
I don't know. But the whole thing is like, I don't know how he bleeds, because have we ever seen someone bleed from a phaser? We've only ever seen people knocked out or just killed. Like, as in sort of, there's never wounds. So it does feel just a bit like maybe she shot him with his own weapon. Maybe that's something I've missed in the episode.
When they uncovered his face, I mean, this is going to be a niche reference for people, but when they uncovered his face, I genuinely thought it was James Holden from The Expanse.
Really?
I genuinely thought it was James. I thought it was the actor from The Expanse. The way that human looked, I was like, holy shit, that's the guy who plays James Holden.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been absolutely awesome, but no. But I just wanted to know more. I just wanted to know so much more. Why did they turn into what they turned into? What drove them? Were they mad? Were they organized? Were they religious? Did they thoroughly believe that they were the last of their kind?
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Are they the explanation for why there were Chinese in the previous episode?
Ooh, I don't.
Is this going to be some kind of overarching sort of ancient astronauts kind of? No, I know it's not what ancient astronaut theory is about, but like some kind of, hey, these guys salted the universe with bits of humanity way earlier than we thought we did.
I think it's highly doubtful.
I think we need an excuse for why that Chinese is there, though. That's gonna.
Oh God, we really do, because that peed me right off last week. Like, why is that Chinese there? What is that living organism frozen as the statue? Yeah. I need to know. I need explanations. I need exposition.
Yeah. But yes, that's it. That is all my notes about this episode. So it's a quick one, but
wow.
You know, there's loads more that we could say about it. However, it's the fact of like, I'll probably give this one. I'll probably give it a 7 out of 10, and that sounds very high. But considering that Strange New Worlds veers between 9 and 10, you know, like they're genuinely absolutely brilliant. These episodes.
I would say that this is an 8.
I think.
I would say that this is an 8 for me. Could have been a 9, but I'm left wanting. This is very much. This is what I said at the top of the episode. It's very much the most original series episode that we have got thus far in season 3, because it leaves you wanting more of an explanation. And there were so many episodes in the original series where you're just like, why? Why is it like that?
Yeah.
Why is that civilization like that? Why did they parallel that?
Do you reckon what we should do? Because I have a feeling, because you know how we kind of said, oh, they'll probably have to do more with Pelia and this, and then they did. And then we were like, oh, well, they're not going to explain this or whatever, and then they did. Do you reckon what we should do is when we've got to the end of Strange New Worlds, when we've finished this season of it, that we should re-watch the season and then have an episode of going, hey, re-evaluating the episodes based upon what we know happens later.
Season 3 review.
Yeah, well, as like an overarching one of going like, hey, actually, now that we know that they do explain the Chinese, that episode makes a lot more sense. Or actually, we can see things harking back. That would be interesting. I think,
like this. I like this idea. Should we have a guest on, guys, as well? Should we boldly go into the little black book and actually get a guest for season 3? I'm going to put a poll. I'm going to put a poll. The poll is going up just as we're about to end the episode for a couple of minutes. Engage with your audience. Star Trek Picard. Start a poll. But I haven't annoyed the poll. Why is he angry? Should we have a guest for our Yes. You idiots. If I could spell idiot right, that would be so much funny. I'll just do that. Okay, guys. Paul is live. Vote now.
Okay. I suggested it, so I'm going to vote yes. But yeah, everyone in the chat, please vote in our poll and see if we should do it.
If you were watching this recorded, let us know what guest. Yeah, if you were watching this recorded, if you're watching this back, let us know in the comments who you would like as a guest on Trekking Up North, and I will do my absolute best not to get a restraining order from that person that you want me to get on.
Also, you know what's hilarious? Like, I really should have thought about this, but I think he would have murdered us. I'm literally, after this, I'm going off to the castle because obviously it's Mr. Gay UK this weekend.
It is.
I'm helping behind the scenes and interviewing people and stuff. And hilariously, one of the guest judges is Mark Jackson from The Orville. Well, as in the character Mark Jackson from The Orville. As well, Mark Jackson, the actor who plays Isaac.
Yes, we've met him before. He's a wonderful human being.
He's back, and I'm laughing that I'm gonna probably go and eat pizza with him after doing this, and I'm just like, if only we knew a guest we could get on or something.
If
I'm like,
only we would
about today, but
if only we were going to cover the Orville, we could have got Isaac on. Oh wait, we are going to in the future, and yes, we could have had him on. What the hell are we doing with our lives? This is why we're not getting past 100 subscribers. But
I will definitely get him, sort of ask him whether he'd be up for it and stuff. But it is going to be interesting. But yeah, no, let's do it. What's the poll saying? I'm assuming the poll is saying exactly what we want to do because we have lots of votes on yes.
This is a very comprehensive poll.
Yes, it is. It's everyone voting yes on it.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Right. That has been our review of the Sehlat who ate its own tail. Fun fact, a Sehlat is a Vulcan pet that Spock had when he was a young boy, and a Sehlat is what we see in Star Trek Enterprise in The Forge. It is a very big dog. So the Sehlat who ate its own tail.
Don't I literally have that in our Dabble Wheel of Shame? I'm pretty sure I have the
yes,
Forge.
you do.
The Forge is
you
the same way that
do.
the Doomsday Machine is the Doomsday Machine in it. No, it's
the
not.
Doomsday Machine.
Although, actually, totally.
We had
random,
it.
Just to quickly take us off. We did do that. However, we have totally missed something, and it came up online. We totally missed something about this series. Dr. Corby. Dr. Corby.
He's not here.
No, he's not here. It's not just that. There was a post I saw, and I was like, I totally missed this, because in the episode that I put into the Dabble Wheel of Honor for the original series, What Are Little Girls Made Of? I think it's like Series 1, Episode 7. That is all about Dr. Corby. It is basically, it is Nurse Chapel, played by Marjorie Bray, going to visit, going onto a planet and finding this is where her old husband, Roger Corby, lives. And he's made all of these robots. And the fact is that the episode we just did is him going, hey, this ancient civilization knows how to live forever by making all these things. And so it suggests that his arc over the series is all going to tie into where he gets to it. And I'm like, I thought he was a totally new character. I did not realize that he actually... Yeah. That's something where I was like, we totally missed that, but that's incredible. So there's a lot more that we can be doing with him this series, I guess.
Definitely, but that has been our review of the Sehlat who ate its own tail from season 3 of Strange New Worlds. What did you think of this episode? Let us know down in the comments below. And while you are there, give us a cheeky little like, and if you're not a subscriber, go on. Press that like button, sir. Press that like button, will you? Click subscribe as well, sir.
Click subscribe, Daddy.
Tick the bell, sir. Just tickle the bell, sir. Tickle it. Make it ring, sir. Are you like that, sir? You dirty boy, sir. If you like Trekking Up North, sir, do you want to share it with the world, sir? I bet you do, sir. You naughty boy, sir. Share it with the world. Let all the world look at what you like, sir. Make them watch it, sir. Do you like making them watch, sir? Suit you, sir.
What were you doing again? Like and subscribe, you fuckers.
Like and subscribe, Trekking Up North. And for the love of God, share this with everyone that you know. Let the entire world know that Trekking Up North is here, and we are proud to celebrate the love of Star Trek. Strange being you are, Michelle. Shut your face. Old Michelle.
You are Michelle.
Yeah, well, I won that war, though. I won that war. I got my refund. Rodel.
We can't go into it. We can't go into
it. We can't go. Due to litigation and an NDA, I cannot discuss it live on air.
If you want to know more about the Yodel thing that we are alluding to, join Goodwill or one of his many aliases on his Twitch stream. So go in the the description below, follow his Twitch channel, and join him there. And you will be subjected to this utter nonsense. But yeah, so everyone else, we will see you next week for another
The first 20 minutes of
episode.
that stream was just me ranting about Yodel and my hatred.
It was ludicrous. But yeah. So
What was it? At the
everyone,
end,
we
it was
will
like,
see you later.
anyway, I'm here to drive a truck. Right, anyway, yes, thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next week for our review of episode 7. Take care of yourselves and each other. Live long and prosper, and as ever, on Trekking Up North. Miles? Oh my god. His voice, he was that deep that Zoom cancelled him.
I was so deep you could feel me.